Welcome to What's the Issue? I'm your host, Brianna Kendall, and today we have
Roberta Gomez from the South Bronx.
My name's Tom, and I'm from Boston.
Naya Hicks from Queens.
Today's issue is the North Dakota Access Pipeline. So guys, what's the issue?
The construction of oil barrels.
The new pipeline will be running from North Dakota to Patoka, Illinois.
Given its location, there's rising concern about negative impacts on the environment.
There's a lot of people that are involved in this effort, and they're afraid of us. They're afraid of the prayer. We're going to win. No matter how much they appeal it, we're going to win.
As some of you might know, the Soul Tribe is protesting against the North Dakota Access Pipeline. But why exactly are they protesting?
Well, for one, it risks a major source of drinking water for over 8 million people, Native Americans, and just American citizens in general.
And it will be carrying about 470,000 barrels per day.
Wow. And those things do burst quite a bit. I actually was watching something on the internet the other day, I think a week ago, in Yellowstone.
Yes.
There was a gigantic spill in a lake.
Yes, and it was not known until about 17 hours after.
And I think that's really what the biggest issue is that sometimes there isn't necessarily an exact science to this, and sometimes there are big mistakes, so who would be held accountable for that if something were to happen?
There's another thing too, it runs through a lot of burial grounds for the Native Americans as well.
I believe it's going through Illinois as well.
Yeah.
Starting from some point at the south, Midwest.
It's going to start from North Dakota and then it's going to end in Illinois at like a certain terminus. But yeah, I was just looking at this on the internet the other day. I love these memes, all these things that people come up with. Like they were showing a World War II burial ground, like all these soldiers and how sacred it is and how wonderful it is that we have this thing, this establishment that shows respect. And yet we imagine if someone would come through and bulldoze this thing.
But I think in America, it's a history of constantly disturbing things that have already been there. So I don't know if that's really a big concern for the people that are willing to create this pipeline throughout this.
They should though, because Native Americans are technically American citizens. The government gave that to them. It should be a concern. You're hurting your own people.
No, I absolutely agree with that. But I feel like it's not, given our history within America, those types of things have never been a concern for us. So where do we start that concern? Where can we even begin that dialogue? And how do we get other people to understand, like maybe we should take a step back and stop thinking about the money aspect of it and more so think about what exactly this means to a group of people. Is that even an important tagline for them to begin with?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, imagine if you did that, if the Native Americans did bulldoze that World War II memorial, we would instantly rain hellfire on these people.
And it's hard for us to understand that until it actually happens. So it's easier for us to be able to say, oh, well, this serves a greater purpose versus what you're saying it does, because it doesn't necessarily affect us in that way. It's more so about the money aspect of it versus how you feel about this particular land.
Right, but that comes with the cost to them, and until they begin to protest, then we won't see the red flag.
Right.
Until we see something that's, really causing some type of danger to us, then we won't react.
No, I absolutely agree with that.
So I think it should be a concern. Humanity it's at a danger, and we're one. Referring back to Michael Jackson, his song, "We Are the World." We gotta care for it. If we don't care for it, it's gonna be gone really soon. And the oil, we use it every day. We're really used to it, but but again, it's at a cost. There's other ways that we can, there's alternatives to this. So we have to make a change.
It's a comfort zone that we've gotten used to. It's a tool that we've known how to use for years, and we have the means to get to use something other than oil. We've had the means for years. We just don't seem to care about it.
The development of technology and steadfastly to create new electronics and other things like that, we're able to do those things, but when it comes to actually giving back to our environment, we're still stilted in that way, endangering species, the things that we do to our water supply to cut corners, like in Flint, Michigan, the way that they tried to cut corners, in doing that and risking the lives of people. It doesn't make any sense to me of how we can advance so much in some aspects, but still be so stilted in things that have to do with our environment and how we treat our people.
And I believe the water is still not the purest.
No.
Yeah, that's another funny meme. You get the bottle of water that's yellow, and he's saying, about the Hillary and Trump, presidential thing that's going on. Oh, by the way, the Flint, Michigan water is still yellow.
Yeah. It's always a distraction. Some type of distraction.
Absolutely.
We've gotten to the point where misery is extremely funny to us.
Mm-hmm. We're living
kind of
in a
gross.
very negative time in terms of the way that we think about other people, how we talk about certain things, and even like our fears in certain aspects. Like, it's not necessarily related, but the Chelsea incident that happened this week, a lot of people were saying in New York that they weren't scared about those things. And these are things that are affecting people. So how can we not be afraid of those things?
It shouldn't be the norm,
how can we not be
afraid?
afraid of those things, and then also not afraid of how we're treating our environment to sustain it for future generations. We're solely thinking about ourselves here.
And this isn't just gonna the pipeline doesn't just burst in the water. It could burst in the forest and cause the whole thing to go ablaze. If you look, it won't be hard at all for you to look for these videos on YouTube or on Facebook. They're shared every day, constantly, and it's like, there's one particularly set to classical music, like this intense, like, I think it's the War of 1812, and then as the video's going on, it's just different areas in America, different parts of a pipeline, just boom, whether it's in the water, in the forest. It takes seconds for a whole section of a forest to just go up.
I think the other aspect of it is not only could that possibly happen in those things, but how do we even begin to clean that up to restore that type of environment? Like, is there something in place? Like, I know that they said that there was a possibility that they could install a system that would shut it off if it does start to contaminate the water. Who's to say that that can actually happen? And if it does happen and it does contaminate the water, who's going to be responsible for cleaning that up? Is it going to be cost effective to even clean that up?
And is it possible to, detect? At what point can you detect the burst?
Like when you guys were talking about how 17 hours have gone by when no one detected this at all. Were those systems put in place to detect those things, but they failed?
Right.
It's not just human error, it's also technological error.
Correct.
And who is going to
mess up.
So who's going to be able to be in charge of saying, okay, now we have to clean this up, and how many billions of dollars is it going to cost for us to clean it up?
And yet we're afraid to spend money on an alternative. Let's not try something new at all. Let's commit to the actual definition of insanity, which is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different outcome.
Exactly.
But many here are still haunted by the memory of North Dakota's last oil boom and bust in the 1980s. Almost overnight, boomtowns morphed into debt-ridden ghost towns when the price of oil plunged.
When the boom came around the second time, there were a lot of us that said, oh my God, here we go again.
It's about standing above the fray and looking down and saying, what can we make out of this that'll be sustainable?
What are some of the positive solutions to the North Dakota Access Pipeline?
Well, it won't come cheap, as we all know, but we do have the resources to start. We already have hydropower, wind power, and solar power, and I really haven't heard many positive things about wind power, but I think hydropower is really our best bet, and we should at least try something and try to get a little uncomfortable, out of the comfort zone and out of that insanity that I talked about earlier. Really. So yeah, it's going to be expensive, but it's going to be a little cheaper than cleaning oil like every time it explodes out of this pipeline. And not only that, but we didn't even mention how it's going to affect wildlife. We mentioned the forest being destroyed, we mentioned the water, but we didn't mention like just, it can
Species animals.
kill, the fire is going to kill deer in the woods, it's going to kill ducks in the water. Like, we're killing off more species, more endangered species. We already have so many that are going away. So that's another issue.
And to touch on the price tag part of it and changing the way that we go about things, I think it's already an expensive ordeal anyway. This is costing billions of dollars to build in the first place, is that correct?
14.7.
Yeah, so if we're willing to spend that amount of money when we're supposedly in national debt to build something that's going to create more jobs and alleviate that, then what would be the difference in spending that money on finding an alternative route that would better our environment and pretty much save humanity in a way, because we're absolving ourselves from having that issue of having to do that whole cleanup and, I don't know, taking away the resources that would be afforded to the people that live in that area and the animals that live in that area.
It is just another rich guy. It's a billionaire that's funding this thing, actually. Again, another guy at the top just controlling everything.
Because he doesn't have to be at the bottom.
Money, yeah, money. It's just really all it is money. That's what we're concerned about. Money and comfort. So we need to get out of that.
Yes.
Really quick. And yeah, with the election going on, we need to get out of money and comfort too, if I may say so.
All these multi-million-dollar corporations, all they see is money. They don't see the future of life, the future of their own children, their own lives, their cattle, their corn, everything that they need to survive is going to be dead.
It's the fear of my children having something able to drink, able to wash up, able to cook with. That's why I'm here. It's the most important thing, and I understand why people don't get that, So that's why I'm here, is to protect our water, and, I'll do it at all costs. I'm prepared to stay for the long haul. Ain't nobody moving me.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you took away something from this program, and please do not hesitate to get involved. To stay updated with us, please like us and follow us at our Facebook page at What's the Issue. Hope to see you next time.
To get involved and share your thoughts on this subject matter, call the North Dakota Governor at 701-328-2200.
Or you can call the Army Corps of Engineers and demand that they reverse the construction permit at 202-761-5903.
You can also sign the petition at the White House government website at petitions.whitehouse.gov/stopconstruction.